guys, it's been a while. Yes, Taiwo, right?
A long time.
Like it's been long, and that's, forgive me guys, I've been busy, then I've been having live videos. I didn't leave you guys out. I've been having live videos Tuesdays, like every week. And so today, if you've not subscribed to my channel, go subscribe to my channel called Abby's Corner. It's not just entertaining, you get a lot of information, we get to discuss and all of that. So, Taiwo, today we're talking about, we've not talked about a topic, but we're talking about, studying
in
the US. Yes, why you should actually study in the US, the requirements for studying in, like, getting admission into universities in the US, funding and all of that. So, well, I'm going to have serious questions for Taiwo because it's on with the information. I wish I knew all these things. Well, when I went to come to the US, I didn't know all this, and what to pay out of pocket, and I'm telling you, it was stressful. So, Taiwo, today, first of all, I have to ask this question first. Why should one study in the US? Why do you think it's important for one to study in the US?
A lot of reasons why you should study in the US.
Okay.
One, the first thing is that it's good to see you guys again. I haven't been here in a while, and I haven't been here in a minute,
Yep.
But it's good to be here again, to be here with the beautiful Abby Bola.
And our handsome Taiwo.
Forget. Wash.
Yeah.
So yeah, get straight to the issue. So one reason why it's good to study in the US, United States of America, is most of American universities have very good international reputation. If you have a US degree, most times you can go anywhere. That's true for many universities too outside the US, UK, so many other places, Europe, but everybody, kind of like there's a standard that comes with American universities. They have even most of the schools that are not like top tier universities here in the US, they all have similar basic, like more like
standard,
there's a standard that all of them go with. So that's one reason, very, very good international reputation. And another reason is there's a lot of cultural diversity with studying in the US. Because they have such high reputation, a lot of people want to come to the US to study. And so because of that, you have people from everywhere. You have people from China, you have people from India. Of course, those guys take up the huge percentage.
Not for me, but my own school, we are majorly was dominated by just African Americans, and I don't mean
if it's an HBCU, like historically black college and universities,
we
might have more of Africans or African Americans.
By female blacks. I was only Nigerian, and we had just one Thailand student
in your class.
Yeah.
So, but basically, most schools in the US have this very good racial diversity, especially when you're going to grad school. When you're going to grad school, you have a lot more people who come from everywhere. I have friends who are from Iran. I have friends from China. I have friends from India. I have friends from the Middle East. A lot of them, I have even from Mexico, from Caribbeans, people from everywhere. And so that helps your learning, because as you're learning academic stuff, you're also learning their culture. You go out to eat together, you see how they study, you both impart each other, you are in group projects together. So there's a lot of plus that comes with it, and then one of the other things is that studying in the US, they have, and this might be true for most Western world, most Western education, like they have very good support facilities. You understand? For example, if you have a learning disability, they cater to your needs. They have this thing with supporting people who are disabled. So disability here is not somebody who's on wheelchair alone.
Sure.
Here they believe that you could have disability, maybe learning disability, maybe social, you are not that social, and you have to do that sometimes when you're in school, you're in group. So they cater to all of those things. So like if you're saying, when you read, you don't assimilate as much, there are people you can go to.
Sure.
And you talk to them. They can actually schedule your own exam for you outside of the normal, exam conditions. They might be intense. So that's one reason why it's very, very, very useful. It's very important to come here to study. And one other thing that there are so many, but I'll just mention this for the last one is research. the US they devote a lot of resources to research and development. Like many of the government agencies, the NSF, National Science Foundation, Department of Homeland Security, so many private companies, privately owned companies, they invest in R&D, and the people that do this R&D, universities.
So what's this R&D called?
R&D is called research and development.
Okay.
Universities, like and professors in the universities, they are the ones that get grants from universities, and then based on the grants, they can hire students to work, and while you're working, you're also trying to get your degree. So because of that, their funding, their research is very strong.
Okay.
And the difference is that in the US there are so many schools, there are thousands of schools, so, and all of them, and when there's competition like that for funding, definitely it means that a lot of things is going on right.
Okay.
So because of that, I believe that studying the US is a good thing, is a good way to go.
Okay. So we've talked about that. Now what about the requirements for those that want to are thinking of coming to or looking for where they could do their masters or their PhD?
Okay.
What do you think are the requirements for,
Okay, so requirements depend, actually. It depends on what you want to do first. I came here for grad school. Generally, when you're doing either masters or PhD, anything post bachelor here is grad school.
Okay.
So and people have different there are different requirements for masters, different requirements for PhD. Now there are different types of masters as well.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there are different types of masters. There's some masters where you write a thesis masters. There are some masters where you don't write thesis, it's non-thesis, you do projects. So sometimes the requirement might be slightly different from each other. You can always change between them, but requirements are different from each other, and the programs themselves are different from each other.
Yeah.
PhD is completely different from a master's.
Exactly.
When before I started to do my PhD, I used to think that PhD was just continuation of masters, but it's not. It's very interesting. It is not a continuation of masters. PhD is it's just on its own. It's turning on your own. It's just turning on your own. Yeah, I'm serious. Like for masters, for example, especially the non-thesis masters, it's more project. You take more classes.
Okay.
With that, and that is not usually funded. We still get to funding. That is not usually funded. Masters, that is the non-thesis masters, because it's more like you want to spend your money, you want to get a degree, and you want to go out. Maybe you are working, or maybe you're working for a company, and you want to advance in your career. You go do a master's. And what does that teach you? It teaches you the skills, how to, get better at what you're doing, find better way of doing what you're doing. You understand? And then you can progress with that. But that's for the non-thesis masters. For the thesis masters, thesis is more like you are now doing some kind of research. Okay. That is, you are doing some kind of investigation. You're trying to study a problem. You're trying to solve that problem. So a master's can do that. But where the PhD differs is that with the PhD, you are actually contributing to your field.
Okay.
Say you are in computer science, for example, and you're doing a PhD in computer science. Other than taking classes and all, you're going to conduct research. And so when you conduct research, you're trying to find a problem. You are solving it in such a way that nobody has solved it before. Or even if somebody has solved it before, you are doing something completely different that's going to radicalize the field. So you are adding, say your field of study is a circle like this.
Okay.
With a master's, you are kind of like adding something. So it's more like you're bringing new knowledge, and it's based on your research. It's based on running experiments. It's based on, trying new things. So innovation, PhD comes with innovation. There's a lot of innovations that go into doing a PhD. And that's why sometimes it's difficult when you're doing a PhD, because things are not set in stone. Unlike if you're doing a bachelor's, you have all the courses that you're going to take. Take this course, take this course, take this course. In your final year, do capstone project. When you do a capstone project, your advisor is going to say, okay, try to solve this problem. You solve the problem, you submit, you're gone. It doesn't have to be innovative. If it is, it's good if it's innovative. Even for a master's, not necessarily. Some people do innovative stuff in masters, but it's not the required thing. But for a PhD, it's different.
You have to go the extra mile.
You have to go the extra mile. So when you do that, you also have to write write your findings.
Yeah.
That's one way of communicating. So you write those articles, technical articles, and you submit to journals, you submit to conferences, and then people read it. Experts read your work. They rate it. Sometimes they reject your work. Sometimes they're like, oh, this cannot work, this is trash. A lot of things. So there's a lot of negative emotion that may come with a PhD. But the thing is that it helps you to think in a very analytical way. So if you're somebody who is very analytical, you just like to worry about the tiny details. PhD is good for such a person.
Okay.
So then of course the requirements are different, like we said. So maybe we should quickly go into the requirements.
Yeah.
For example, there are so many requirements. Part of it is GRE. GRE is short is an acronym for Graduate Record Exams.
Okay. So a combination of math and English, or just math?
Yeah. So they have different components to it. There is a quantitative reasoning. There is a verbal reasoning.
Okay.
Then there is analytical writing with the GRE.
Okay.
So that then there's TOEFL to test of English as a foreign language. So that usually they can waive TOEFL for you if you're an English-speaking country, But GRE is important. Most times when I talk to people who wants to come to study in the US, the first question I ask them is, "Have you done GRE?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to do GRE." I'm like, "Yeah, you can actually find schools that you don't have to do GRE."
Yeah, but I didn't do GRE, and I got the admission. I came.
Yeah, it's possible. But what that does is that when you're applying, you always have to look for schools that don't have GRE, and that limits your.
Yeah, exactly.
Because some of the schools that take GRE also fund, and we are going to get to that later on. So GRE is important. TOEFL is important too. Recommendation letters very important.
I know how I went far and wide to look for recommendation letters in Nigeria. It was it was not easy, but but it's very important.
And the reason why recommendation is important is because they don't know you. Nobody knows you. Forget that you're coming from the best school in your country. To them here, if they don't know the school, they don't know it. So, but the way the person that you have worked with, the way the person recommends you. Back in Nigeria, sometimes professors will write recommendation letter. They will write, "Oh, he's a very nice boy. He's humble. He's quiet. He's hardworking." They don't care about those things here. Like, tell me what he has done with you.
Yes,
like, for example, you say,
they like that story. I think what about America? They like to say a story.
If you can put it like the lecturer can write like, "Oh, myself and Bimbo, we worked on so together."
Project,
Bimbo was paid a lot of attention to details. She was able to ensure that the project finished on time with the with the perfect quality to match. I look at the way she does her work, her work ethic. So stuff like that, that's what they want. So if they see stuff like that, they're like, ooh, this is a bright student. But if you say, "Oh, she's hardworking, she's diligent," there's no context to the hardworking.
Surface information.
She could be hardworking because she's helping the a project supervisor to wash the car. That's hard work. But the hard work that doesn't deal with your research. So recommendation letter is very, very important. Then transcript.
True.
Transcript is also very important because that's how they know the courses that you've taken.
It's always done evaluated by WES. They're the ones that evaluate.
Not all schools. Some schools like you to evaluate your transcript. Some schools don't want you to evaluate your transcript.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Some schools don't want you to evaluate your transcript. So they just bring it like that. They have their own internal evaluation that they do. So with that kind of internal evaluation, you don't need WES. But most people like to do WES anyways. And then financial kind of like financial statement and all if you're applying. And that we're going to get to that because you need a financial statement if you don't have funding.
Exactly. We call it like sponsor. You need your sponsor.
Yeah.
The sponsor can give you that financial statement. It shows a breakdown of what, their earnings. To know if they are capable of
funding your education. Because it's very important. They don't want you to come here and then you're like
stranded.
You're stranded, you don't know what to do.
You're not liabilities to the country.
And and some people have been in that category before. So so it's important. So for them, they have to verify that and see that, okay, you have some form of funding. But if you have funding from the school itself, then that's okay. Then you don't need that.
Okay. So before you proceed, you said something about, PhD has to do with like, your passion, research, trying to add value and all of that. Yeah. So the question I want to ask is, for those who, for example, maybe back in their country for their bachelor's, they did maybe like, for example, English.
Okay.
And later they're coming to the US for a master's program and they want to transition to a different field. For example, let's say public health. What do you think the process is like? Do you think it's easy for you to transition from that English background that you studied English and then you're transitioning now to say
some science, to STEM.
Science? Do you think they can cope with that? What do you think?
To be honest with you, there's nothing is impossible really. Okay. Nothing is impossible, but it's just that the barrier to getting across the barrier is harder.
Okay.
You understand? So because such a person does not have a science background, so sometimes you may need to take some prerequisites. So they might give you some prerequisites to take before you can go to all those classes. But they're not going to discourage you from doing that if that's your dream. They are, for example, in Nigeria, if you have a master's in, say, electrical engineering, if you have a bachelor's in electrical engineering, for example, you cannot do a master's in mechanical engineering. Yeah, even though they're both engineering in Nigeria, it's very difficult to do such a thing.
Okay.
But here, if you're as far as engineering, you can do any other engineering. But the only thing is that you now take more classes. So they will let you come in, then you take classes to meet up. So, but if you're going from a different, totally, like you're going from English to public health, then you need that foundation. Because if you don't have the foundation, you're just going to be in class and be lost.
Okay, but for me, I know I'm speaking for myself because I did English and Chinese studies for my undergrad.
Yeah.
Then for my master's, I went into public and community, and people were like, how you do it? You're very brilliant. I'm like, see, I did MSc, so it was not completely science, like specific science like that. It was more like, it's Masters of Science in Administration. It was like the administrative part of it, you understand? Yep. It's just like we are doing policies and all of that.
You're not going down the technical details.
That would have been, what's that one called? Is it MPH? That would have been MP, Masters of Public Health. Yes. Okay. So that's what
I have a lot of friends.
Yeah, so it all depends on, you have to make your research, know what you want. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so then we're talking about the funding and the type of funding.
That's very important.
It's very, very important. This is very important. And in America, if you're going to grad school, PhD particularly, they don't want you to think about funding. They want to fund you. That's the truth. But before they can fund you, they have to see that you can do the work. So there are different types of funding. There are 3 types of funding that I know. There may be more. Actually, there are 4, but there are 3 that most people get. There's one they call GA, which is Graduate Assistantship. There's GTA, Graduate Teaching Assistantship. And then there's GRA, Graduate Research Assistantship. There are 3 completely different funding. So the GA is Graduate Assistantship, right? What that does is that it's more like they offer you a position on campus. Say you're working at the office of the vice president, you're doing something for them there. Then if they hire you like that, they pay your tuition.
Oh.
Yeah, they pay your tuition and then they give you a stipend to live on.
This is why I say school matters. Like, it's important.
It does.
Because I know I worked in the school, but I wasn't given any funding.
I mean, you may be paid.
I was paid
by the hour.
By hour, yeah, and there was nothing like maybe you can't do overtime. You're just restricted and all of that.
Yeah, but with the GA, it's more like they'll pay your tuition. Not all the GAs. Sometimes they'll pay 50%. You find out the other 50%. Sometimes they pay the full stuff. That's GA. There's GTA. GTA is Graduate Teaching Assistantship. With GTA, you actually have to work as a TA, teaching assistant.
Yeah, assistant the lecturer.
Assistant the lecturer. Sometimes you actually, might be the one to take charge of the course. Maybe like if it's a laboratory course. In the class, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, like for undergrad, basically. We're talking about masters now. We're talking about grad school now. So with the GTA, I have done GTA. I've done GTA and GRA. I've done GTA a lot. With GTA, I did GTA for some lab classes in electrical engineering. I'm an electrical engineer. So you help the students when they are doing the experiments. They have questions. You answer their questions. So that also, they pay your tuition and they pay your stipend that you can live on. You can rent a house. You can.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
wow,
You can rent a house. You can buy a car. Sometimes if you save up enough, you can buy a car. So basically, you can live on that. You're not going to be like rich. You're not going to be like buying Tesla or something like that. But I mean, you can do the normal thing. Then with the GRA is research assistantship. So with that, a professor sees you and he says, okay, I want this guy to work on my project. And he pays you from the project. It's not his money.
Yeah, like maybe it's like, for example, maybe it's can we say like Bill America Gates Foundation?
Yeah, say for example, there was a time they were giving money for malaria stuff, research and all. Those malaria research monies is going to schools, universities that are doing malaria research. There's some professors who are well known who are doing malaria research. So those professors, the money that they get from Bill Gates, for example, they use those money to pay students' salaries, students' tuitions.
Okay.
You know, but in return, the students work on the research. And so the student, you have to show something for the research. You have to write publications. You have to write your findings. You have to conduct experiments.
And when it's rejected, will they pay you?
They still pay you because you have something. It's just that it's rejected, right? But you have to keep working until it's accepted. You understand? So GRA is like most times that's what most people want. You know, because it's tied to your productivity too as well. So there's so many government organizations here. It goes back to what we talked about before earlier on, to the fact that American schools, America itself, they support a lot of research. They pump money into research a lot. You know, so with that, you know, you might be working for NSF, National Science Foundation. They give funding to many of the professors. The professors actually apply for these fundings, like grants. They call it grants. You know, so they work hard for it. You know, so because they work hard for it, they want to find students who can work for them. So they're like your managers, you know, only that they're also teachers. You understand? So that's GRA. Then there's fellowship. Fellowship is more like a scholarship, but for graduate school. You know, scholarship for undergrad is just free money, right? Maybe you write an exam, you win the scholarship, boom, you got it. For fellowship is for grad school. It's like free money too. So sometimes you don't have to. It's not GTA, you're not going to be teaching anybody. It's not GA, you're not going to be working in dean's office. It's not GRA, you are not tied to a professor sometimes. Sometimes the fellowship might be because a professor nominated you for the fellowship. But that fellowship is like but it's not what most people try to get. You understand? So, but then it's also very good to get a fellowship, you know. So those four means actually, that means that you can get funding. So, and these are very important. This is very important information, like, because a lot of people worry when they want to go to grad school. They worry, how do I pay for it? How do I do this? If you have this information, go to their school websites have several information out there for stuff like that. There are professors who are always looking for students with some skills, you know, like maybe students that mostly students who finished their bachelor's and they're already working, they kind of like tend to have a lot of information on, you know, they have skill already because they've been working for maybe 2-3 years. So those kind of people, if they go for masters or if they go for a PhD, for example, they tend to quickly find their path because they've been in corporate world, so they know where the need is sometimes. You know, so that's that on funding. Any other question?
Now, concerning researching these universities to attend, you know, some people will feel it's like a very difficult task. You know, how do you spot out the right school? Do you just focus on one school, or do you just spread your eggs? So, what do you advise?
That's a very, very good question. Very important question, I tell you, man. My own policy is that it's good. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. There are different rankings of school, different tiers. I call it tier, right? Most people call it tier. Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You know, tier is not eventually important, but a lot of people, some people, you know, you are applying to all the big schools. You are applying to Harvard, you are applying to Stanford, you are applying to Berkeley. It's good stuff. There are a lot of people who go to those schools. You know, but when you are going to grad school, the school is important for some other things, for like networking, like if you want to get a job after school and all of those things. But while you are there, you also need to enjoy what you're doing, like the environment, work with a good professor, work with a professor that has that can push you to work, you know, and also work with a professor that can support you, that has money to support you. So sometimes, because somebody is in maybe Harvard, you might not know, you might just think, oh, everybody in Harvard, you know, they're all great professors. Some people, you might not work very well with them. You might not fit into the system. So it's always good to spread out your options. You know, find a high ranking school, the one below that, then the one on the low ranking, you know. So spread your options. If you're applying to 6 schools, for example, say 2 top tier, maybe Harvard, Stanford, 2 mid tiers, you know, all these state universities, very good state universities. Then the other ones, maybe some some particular type of school, low ranking schools, you can apply to all three. Because the thing is that when you're applying, you don't know them yet. But when you apply, when you throw out your applications like that, some of them will respond, oh, we want to take you, this and that. Then when they start extending you offers, then you start to talk to students there. Go to LinkedIn, I have people who a lot of people have contacted me on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm going to your school, or I want to go to your school. Can you give me information? And sometimes I give them information. I tell them. So they'll ask you, how is it like? How is the city like? All of those things. So, but if you apply to just one school, except you really know the school, or somebody who has finished from the school, that can work. But other than that, it's difficult. What if they deny you? Because the thing with US admission is that there is timeline for everything. So if you apply to only one school, that means if they deny you, you have to wait till the next year. So you want to spread out your chances, don't just apply to one school, because you already have done all this GRE, TOEFL and all. So you can use them for every other school. Of course, that's subject to
money.
School application is
I'm telling you, it's
money intensive.
It's a lot.
Yeah, you can spend a lot of application fee here, sending transcript, sending GRE score.
That's true.
It's work itself, but it's
work.
rewarding.
Like, I'm telling you, it's work. I know back then I used to be so stressed. I'm like, oh God, what is all this? It's work.
But the most important thing is you have to really know that you want to do that,
and be ready to spend money.
You have to really. I know people might say, oh, I just want to come to you. People want to come to the US because of school alone. They want to come to the US, and one means is just coming to school. Some people do that. I don't always encourage that, because eventually, if you are focused, if you have a focus, laser sharp focus, like very sharp focus, US rewards you for that.
Sure.
The reward might not be immediate, but over the time, you would see it.
That's true.
Wow.
Okay. So now the timing. When is the, or should I say when is the best time to apply?
That's good. Usually they have 2 semesters in the US. They have the fall semester and they have the spring semester. The fall is starts in August. The spring semester starts in January. So usually they have academic year, like fiscal year or something like that. Okay. So it's from August to May.
Okay.
That's like what we call the first semester and second semester. Only that they call it the fall semester. Fall as in fall, something falling down, and the spring semester. But usually the fall semester is the beginning of the year. So if, for example, if you're looking for funding, you most times want to apply towards the fall semester, so that you can, they when they give you admission, they give you funding, they plan you into the whole thing. So you're not, they already know if they're going to give you funding or not. You understand? So most people usually apply towards that fall semester. That's the most time that they get a lot of application. Okay. But the spring is also there. And the spring, something interesting happens with the spring. Okay. Sometimes there might be opportunities that open up in the spring, and they need somebody in January.
Okay.
Maybe a student just graduated and there's a project that is pending and they need somebody to work on the project. They are looking. So you apply. Even though you don't meet all the requirements, you meet the basic requirements, they're like, yeah, let's try him. Because if they don't spend the money on you, they probably have to return the money or something. So with that, those opportunities can come for students. So spring is also a good time, but if you don't get in the spring, it's okay. Fall is okay too. Okay. But if you have your money to pay, it doesn't matter. You can come fall, you can come spring, come summer.
It's true. I know one time when I had the admission, I was not really ready to come. I had to now defer. You understand? Yeah. And then,
so
I think.
Yeah, I think that's for the school application and
the school application.
Right. And then there's one other thing, that I wanted to say. During the application, if you're doing a research, like a Master's of Science in Research, or you're doing a PhD, it's always good to contact professors ahead.
Okay. To
send them an email. Maybe you read their work. You read their publication, and you find you like it, you are interested in it. You can send them an email, short email. Okay. Don't send them any attachment, just email. Oh, so I like your research. I've been studying up on this. I read your paper. I'm interested in this. I want to work with you on this. Is this possible? It's good. Some of them will respond. Say if you mail 20, maybe 2 will respond. To you, it's like bad percentage, because 2 over 20 is that's 1 over 10. That's like 10%. But you only need 1 to even give you the funding. So sometimes some people say, I've mailed professors. Okay, how many did you mail? You mailed 7 professors. 7, not so much. Some people mail like 50 professors.
Wow.
Because that also helps you. They know, okay, they see that, okay, these guys, because they review the application. The professors are part of people that review this. They have a system where they see all the students who apply. So when you mail them like that, and they might not respond to you, but maybe they have interest. So, but when they see your application, they remember, oh, this guy sent me an email. Okay, let me even check his stuff. So that's where that comes in, and it's important. Yeah, sorry to cut you short.
No problem.
Spend so much time already.
It's a lot. Like, it's a lot. Because I think as we should go to do another video maybe later, maybe like we don't know when, about, it's a different thing to get the admission and nothing how to get the visa to come into the US. So we're going to talk about that like in some other video. But
if you guys want, we can do a live stuff too.
Yeah, we can do something live. We can do that's requests. Yeah. Ask questions. Because we know it's good to study in the US. Let me tell you guys, like it's good. I know I've gained a lot from studying in the US. Like people have said I've improved. I've developed, like, You
have developed.
I am.
Okay.
So it's good. So yeah, thanks for watching.
All right, thank you guys for watching.
If you have any questions, drop your comments in the comment section. We'll drop some other like links, for example, where to search for schools and all of that. We'll drop links there. And yeah, that's about it. Subscribe. I'm not